num, num num, birdie num num.
When I have understanding of computers, I shall be the supreme being. God isn't interested in technology. He knows nothing of the potential of the microchip or the silicon revolution. Look how he spends his time. 43 species of parrots. Nipples for men.
Don't do that, Jesus Christ! You're gonna get me killed!
Out of here!
Oh, Billy.
And we are live. Welcome to AB Live. All praise Bob. And we are still in a world where somehow men have nipples and other absurdities. But we do what we can. Thanks, everybody, for being here. And we've got a very exciting show today. With us, we are honored to have the Reverend Ivan Stang. Sir, thank you very much for coming to Aeon Byte.
I didn't have to go very far.
Not anymore.
Thanks to that Silicon Revolution.
Yeah, God is still not interested in technology. Or maybe he is overly interested in these days. I don't know.
We get the saucers, Miguel. That's pretty high tech.
Yes,
Pleasure
indeed.
saucers.
And with us, we've got the Moondog Vans. Vans, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm delighted. I'm delighted to see Stang here, the Reverend Stang. So looking forward to this very much.
I'm delighted to still be here, period.
I know the feeling.
Today's a good day, even though our bodies get more and more sore. But what are you gonna do? It's the old meat sacks, the flesh. The spirit is strong. I think it's strong. What do you think, Ivan?
So far, so good.
Indeed. Well, awesome. Well, we've got people going into the chat room. As always, you guys know the drill. If you have any questions, please write them in all caps or put a whole bunch of question marks on them. Please, if super chats will get put to the top, Vance will do his best to get to thy questions in this very cool show. As always, I don't have much for housekeeping. I did have some, but then I lost my notes while I was as some of you know, we found some we have some feral cats we feed. We found a whole bunch of kittens. They're out in the wilderness, so those animals, 4 of them have been keeping us very busy. They're a lot of fun, but they're pretty destructive and needy. So I know
exactly how that is.
Really?
We've got 3 cats that we found under the hood of my car, thanks to my dog who kept barking at the car. And I looked under the hood and there were 3 kittens there. There were 4 kittens. Their mama was not to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I was going to take them to animal control. Once you feed them and name them, suddenly they're your babies. And so
yeah, my kids named them within 5 minutes. And you're right. I found them underneath. We have a back porch where I keep all the boxes and toys for summer. And yeah, lifted up a box and 4 cats. We have a whole bunch I feed feral cats, raccoons, deer here I have opossums are my favorite. They're the cutest animals to hold.
You live out in the country too, I take it.
Yeah. Northern Illinois, away from Chicago, and in about 35 miles from Chicago, near Wisconsin. So it's a busy place.
Yeah, I live on a goat ranch, and we have
rule.
all those varmints plus armadillos.
I miss.
They're real hassle. They're cute, but they're terrible. They're part of the conspiracy against dogs.
I did live in Texas, yeah, so I know about armadillos. But yeah, you're right. And also, once you touch the cats, like kittens, I hear that the mom will either ignore them or even try to kill them.
Yeah, I was told that after the fact, and we just took them in. I had to. I was about to drive into town, and they were on top of my motor. I'm just really glad I found him, because that would have been really ugly.
Yeah, that wouldn't have
falling onto the highway at 70 miles an hour.
Ugh.
Yeah,
worse than leaving your coffee on the roof of your car. A lot worse.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, I don't know how I wanted to get started. I know since Vance is a member of the church, I know he has a lot of questions or human sacrifices or things. Yes, there you go.
Oh, well, you're an actual member. I've got I have the oldest card ever. It was the first one that was ever filled out in 1980.
And you paid yourself $1.
Actually, just before July 5th, 1998, I paid my $30 membership. I wrote a check to the company, and I didn't even have to endorse it because somebody was working for me then.
Oh, that's funny. Well, X Day is coming up too, as you know.
July 5th, 1998. Yeah. Whenever 1998 really is. Obviously, they've been lying to us about the calendars and stuff.
That's right.
See, there's my little. It's so old that it has my human name on it.
Oh my
human street name.
Well, you have your excuse too, so right?
Oh yeah,
as do I.
We have. In fact, if any of your listeners wants to buy this SubGenius membership pack, I'm still signing the little letter inside personally. It's full of all kinds of stuff. See, it's like a decoder pin and your minister's card, which really works. I mean, I performed dozens of marriages. Unfortunately, the real money is in divorces. I don't have a law degree, but yeah, if those weren't real marriages, about half of them wasted their money on the divorce.
That's true. Wow, I love it.
The other half are still married, I think. So
50-50. That's about right.
SubGenius weddings. We've done all kinds.
Boy, oh boy, I've never been at one, but I have fun imagining what it would be like. All sorts.
We also do mass short duration marriages, which was a clever idea that Reverend Buck Naked came up with a long time ago, where we'd marry everyone in the congregation, which was usually happening in a bar. Or during X Day drills when we gather to wait for the world to end, I would often do some real marriages and then a mass marriage. And everybody, at the end of it, everybody has to say, "I do," "It's a deal," and shake hands on it. But it only lasts for 24 hours. So that's the good part of the mass marriage. You know, when you start your own religion, or in this case, just devote yourself to one that Bob started, it can be a lot of fun. We didn't really expect that we'd have to be getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning every July 5th to wait for the sausage. But I've been
Bob works in mysterious ways.
Yeah, we've been waiting for the sausage since the so-called 1998. For the listeners who don't know what the heck we're talking about, the guy with the pipe that I'm surrounded by, this thing on my shirt, that's J.R. Bob Dobbs, the saint of sales, originally a supernaturally talented salesman, but one weird night he was messing around with some home electronics, and he stepped in a puddle and had a vision. Jehovah One, the alien space god, told him about X Day, when the saucers would arrive and destroy the non-subgeniuses. Or whatever, we're not sure, destroy or can them or sell them to the aliens or something. But the dues-paying subgeniuses will all be saved and have some sort of wonderful utopia and live forever. So it's just like every other religion. It's not that we love Bob all that much. It's that we love the idea of everybody else going to hell. That's a lot of what that's all about. You have to have an enemy. That's the conspiracy of all the normal people, which has unconsciously been suppressing the weirdos and abnormals and goofballs, believers and disbelievers, those who will believe anything. That's my favorite kind. Boy, people will believe anything. It's shocking. We've actually had to deprogram our own zombies a few times. And not often, but there's the dumbest ones are the richest ones who just inherited money, and they're always the ones who think they're going to meet Bob. I swear, it's the weirdest thing. I have to cross my fingers and go, in our catalog it says no salesman will call. Well, that's both a warning and a promise. Bob, you don't expect to meet Bob. He's floating around out there somewhere. Every time he shows up at one of our events, somebody would shoot him. And he got tired of having to resurrect over and over again. Apparently, we really don't see him much anymore.
Body shot for Bob.
Oh yeah. Well, if you see him on the road, you got to shoot him, or on the stage.
Right. Yeah. Have you guys seen the documentary movie about the church?
Yes, I saw it.
Not the one I did, but the one Sandy Boone directed.
Yes, I saw it just recently.
Yeah, saw it last night.
Yeah, the title is J.R. Bob Dobbs and the Church of the SubGenius. Very explanatory. It's on Tubi right now for free, and I think you can pay to see it on YouTube and Apple. But Tubi, it has commercials, which it was kind of a thrill to me. I haven't had cable for years, and the only commercials I ever see are on my phone now.
They get the con is everywhere.
Well, I tell you what, though, it's really fun to turn on the television and there's like there's a picture of me representing the movie, not Bob for some reason. Bob's a lot more handsome, but that's always a kind of a weird kick. Plus, I can watch it with subtitles on those.
What language do you pick?
English usually. My Spanish is terrible.
Not Texan.
Yeah, my hearing is actually really bad, and I pretty much have to use subtitles. I can hear you guys just fine now. That's one reason I have the headphones on now.
Awesome. Well, Ivan, the question I had for you, sort of a top level question, is what do you think about reality today? I mean, it seems like everything has become a parody of itself. Our governments, reality, UFOs are now part of the mainstream conversation. Every big figure seems to be caught in some silly B movie story. It's almost like, how can do you feel the parody has become reality in 2020, 2021, and 2022? Oh, yeah, not even get started on 2016 when the world went crazy.
Obviously, the Church of the SubGenius wasn't a joke after all.
It's coming true.
We predicted almost all of this stuff, although we had the dates completely wrong. If you look at our old book of the SubGenius, it was published in the 80s, and it's still in print, strangely enough. It has this date line for dominance that predicts everything that's going to happen up through 1998. It doesn't go any past that, but everything we predicted between 1980 and 1998 then happened after 1998. So who knows? Maybe the saucers will be here this July. There's actually an X Day celebration that started today. They're doing it a month early because basically, after 25 years of it, we thought maybe we can fudge the dates a little bit and maybe not hold the event at the hottest time of year. So it's a kind of a do-it-yourself thing. We're not having a great big official party this year because our venue is moving. But somebody in New York is doing one right now. And I think they're going to stream it on Twitch or something. It'll probably be awful.
Oh.
I mean, really, I think the guy has too many bands, and bands look terrible on streaming, you know. So we'll see. Maybe it'll be great. But part of my job is I have to attend virtually.
They have a big screen up there, like so you can.
Actually, they didn't make any arrangements for that at all. Not for me. I mean, I would just be watching and saying hello in a little chat room or something. It's a first, because we used to hold these. We had up to 200 or 300 people back in the day. It gradually, as the saucers continually failed to come, it got down to less than 100 people that would show up. But we always have them at clothing optional campgrounds that are mostly used by pagans. And there's been a lot of crossover between the SubGenius community and what you might call the neo-pagans, at least up north. We were lived. In fact, the reason I ended up in Ohio for years was because of the Starwood Festival, which was one of the biggest neo-pagan events. And I got to know a lot of the authors that I had made fun of. Now we're friends. And most of them went, keep doing what you're doing, man. It's important. They're, as if they were saying, it's too easy to brainwash people. Look how easily we did it. So I'm not going to name names, but there's some other heads of cults that basically and authors who've said, well, I'm just making all that stuff up. Like, you admit it? I mean, we had that's kind of built into ours. In fact, we encourage every SubGenius to basically start their own religion and schism off and call us, idolaters or something.
That's one of the things I love about it. I'm the Pope of all in the Pomo, by the way. Dr.
All right.
No, yes.
Dr. No.
Yes, GNO for Gnosis.
Oh, okay, right. Are you guys familiar with Gnosis magazine?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's around anymore, is it?
No.
But it was a great, Richard Smalley, Gary Lockman, a bunch of good guys.
Jay Kinney, who edited that, was a real good friend of ours, and in fact gave us a real he helped us a whole lot when we first started printing the little pamphlets and things. He and Paul Mavrides, who was another underground comic book artist, gave us addresses of people to send our stuff to, like Robert Anton Wilson, who loved it, and Ken Kesey, who loved it, and Robert Crumb, who I figured would hate everything, but he reprinted our pamphlet in his first issue of Weirdo magazine. All of this stuff is so long ago and so pre-internet, it's like another world.
Yeah, Robert Kinney, he's been a past guest, and Robert Crumb did come out as a Christian Gnostic a few years ago.
Crumb did?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
well, he did do a whole illustrated Old Testament.
I have it. Yeah, I have a copy. It's wonderful, and it really gives you a pretty visceral view of what was going on. I mean, the scene with Lot and his daughters, I can't get out of my brain.
I think I so far have only looked through it in a bookstore. I remember those bookstores. They were cool.
Oh yeah, I remember bookstores. Yeah, I think when I went to Portland, there was a bookstore in the middle. But I mean, why do you think people are so easy to fool? Are we just pack animals? Are we just that desperate where we want the answers so then we cannot work for any personal growth? All of the above, or what have you learned about humans?
Well, my father, of all people, he was all frustrated about something, and he blurted out the phrase, "I believe whatever I need to believe." And I thought, he just summed up the human condition in one sentence. I believe whatever I need to believe. And I thought, well, that's pretty scary, but from the very beginning, we've kind of been encouraging people. It's like, oh, we believe everything. We believe all religions, even with contradictory ones. We contradict ourselves constantly. Paradoxes are built into the whole thing. If you try to live by Bob's teachings, you could kill yourself pretty easy. Too much is always better than not enough is one of his most famous ones. College kids just love that, and it's an excuse to drink themselves to death, apparently. We left off the complete line, which was, it originally was, too much is always better than not enough, but it's almost as bad. And that just didn't have the same ring to it.
Mm.
Another one was pull the wool over your own eyes and relax in the safety of your own delusions. So
That's very Philip K. Dick.
Yeah. The SubGenius, we sent him a pamphlet and he died the next day.
Oh,
there
man,
was a friend of mine was visiting him that very day.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And Dick's wife arrived or something, and my friend left, his ex-wife, and that day he boarded the saucers. That happened to L. Ron Hubbard too. Somebody gave me L. Ron Hubbard's for real address. She used to know him. She was at the party when he said that line about the way to make money is start a religion. And he died right after he got the pamphlet.
Well, don't send me any pamphlets.
We started sending them to politicians. I think Jesse Helms was one, and various other people. We thought, well, maybe this is it. Why? But that didn't work that way. Bill Hicks, that was another one. I didn't even know who Bill Hicks was until just before he died, and I sent a big package of stuff to him, and then poof. So I feel terrible about wiping out all these wonderful thinkers and crazy people, mushroom gobbling speed freaks.
Maybe you have to tell them to send you a dime or something. Like when you give something sharp for Christmas, and you have to, the person gives you a dime so that if they cut themselves, it wasn't your fault because they bought it. You ever hear that?
Oh, no, that's a new one on me. I'll have to remember that.
Yeah. So tell them if you send anybody else something for free, tell them to send
if you want to live, send us $1. Send $1 if you want to live.
Yeah, come with me if you want to live. Terminator 2.
Send $1.
Oh, man.
That's our motto. If Jim Jones could get 900 people to commit suicide, we can get 900 people to send us $1. That's what we got a lot. We got more like 9,000 people to send us $30. Probably a lot more than 9,000, actually. Probably more like 30 or 40,000 people over a 30-year period. Think about it. That's not unreasonable. Price just went up though. It's $44.99 now. Used to $35 for years for ordainment.
Yeah, that's what I paid.
Right. How much? 35?
Yeah.
That was it was getting to where the package cost almost that much to make. Those little pamphlets, they still say $1 on them, but they cost a whole $1 to print and another 50 cents to mail, or whatever the postage is now for that. But we've got all the other stuff, like little stickers you can buy, and we even have bandanas that you can use for a face mask. They look pretty funny if you fold it to where Bob's smile is where your smile is.
The pipe coming down. I love it.
I don't have any here. There's a guy named Sick Rick makes those masks, rubber masks. So we have. You can be Bob if you want. I don't recommend it. You'll be almost blind. He pulls the wool over his own eyes, and the eye holes are hard to see through. But yeah, it's been we've been saving souls since 1980. We had a 40-year anniversary. It just came and went. We forgot. I've been doing my radio show since 1985, and we're on episode number 1868.
Wow.
I'm getting so tired of it.
Does KPFA still carry it?
KPFA has its own SubGenius show that's actually been on even longer, Puzzling Evidence show. With Puzzling Evidence, the host, Dr. Hal Robbins and Philo Drummond used to be on it. They've been on since 1982 at 4 in the morning on Fridays. And they're still doing that. I had a station to get to work at in Cleveland, but now I just do everything from home. So we had been in that.
Internet.
We had done that before, you know. But they're like six actual broadcast stations. Most of them are college stations that carry it. Some even pay for it. And of course the podcast, you know, you can hear any show anytime.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, I definitely miss Philip K. Dick and Bill Hicks and all those guys. And yeah, like you're saying, human beings don't believe what they see. They see what they believe. Somehow we are, hardwired for delusion. It's our evolutionary trait. I guess that's what keeps us together, united in some sort of fantasy, which sometimes is for good. It can get us to space. It can get us to explore things. It can get us to, when it works well, the myth or the story.
That recent Marvel movie, The Eternals, there's a character in that named Sprite who sort of sums that up, and again in one sentence. And she looks like a teenage girl, so it seems ridiculous to the guy who she says it to. She says, you humans, the reason you've lasted and survived so long and thrived on this planet is because you believe in things that don't even exist. Money, God, countries, that's all made up. And then it cuts to that goddess teaching the Mesopotamians about those three concepts. So I was kind of surprised to hear that uttered out loud in a movie theater. In Texas, you know, you'd be afraid somebody'd burn the theater up. How dare they?
Yeah. Well, our minds are made of stories. We're attracted to stories, not facts. I think until people realize this, we're not going to get through. That's how we are. We're stories from some source.
Yeah, Terry Pratchett said that too. There's another one that's boarded the saucers.
Yeah, miss him too.
What am I doing still alive?
You have a mission.
I asked Paul Krasner that at one point. He was in his 80s and still doing shows and stuff. And I was lucky enough to get him on my radio show. And I said, all those other guys in the Chicago 7 are dead. What's your secret? And I immediately felt bad because I think it might have seemed a little bad taste to him. Although, isn't he the guy that wrote the thing about LBJ having sex with Kennedy's head wound on the plane coming back from Dallas? Yeah. Yep. Krasner told me that he lost his virginity in the offices of Mad Magazine under a giant painted portrait of Alfred E. Newman. Yeah,
oh my God.
Who is Bob's country cousin or something. Bob and Alfred E. Newman have a lot in common.
Well, don't mail yourself a pamphlet. That's all I have to say, or else you'll be.
I ended up on an elevator with William Gaines, the publisher of Mad, at a convention, a comics convention or something. We were both at. He had paid ladies on either side of him. He was in a wheelchair by this time, and I had a little pamphlet with me. I asked him, "Have you ever seen this face, Bob?" And he said, "No." I was really surprised, actually, but because every now and then Bob pops up. He used to pop up in Mad. Mad's gone now. That's a shame too. They were still pretty funny, even I guess when they had ads that was the end of it. They managed to go without selling ads all those decades.
I was a subscriber for many, many years as a kid. It was awesome.
Yeah, we subscribed my nephews to it, and they were very thankful. So when I've had to use this phrase a few times, not lightly, but officer, have you ever heard of Mad Magazine? Reason being, I've at one point had some rent-a-cop was pointing a gun at me saying, "So this is a cult, right? You all are in a cult," because we're all wearing the same shirt with Bob and saucers and triangles and eyeballs, so it looks culty, and it is as culty looking as you can get. And I just go, "Officer, have you ever heard Mad Magazine?" They change their attitude real quick. Or, "Yeah, why?" And it's like, well, that's kind of what you're getting upset about, officer. Man.
Yeah, I think as a collective, we've lost our ability to laugh, and as satire. Even The Simpsons is no longer funny. That's, Saturday Night Live is not funny. We just don't have what we had in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, I feel. Hopefully it doesn't mean I'm getting old, but don't know anything else that's really cutting out there.
My old buddies are cutting as hell, but it's a news group of 8 people. So, yeah. Then there's a million SubGenius Facebook pages. The number of SubGenius Facebook pages is too damn high. And I can't keep up with that stuff anymore. I can't listen to my friends' radio shows. I can barely even bear to listen to my own. And it was a rerun this week. Really good. The reruns are so much better than what we're doing now. We were young. We had fire in our belly, and the world had not yet gotten crazier than anything we were saying. Exactly. I think how Mike Judge must feel, the guy who directed Idiocracy.
It's a documentary now.
Documentary now.
Right. Yeah, I never have met him, which is kind of funny because he worked in Dallas for an animation company before he got known, before Beavis and Butthead. Mm-hmm. And he told somebody, a friend of mine who was interviewing, he said he used to listen to the Hour of Slack. So there's another thing to blame on us.
Nothing wrong. Mike Judge put out some great stuff.
We were inspired by the Fire Sign Theater, and not a lot of people don't recognize that name at all.
That's sad.
They were they were before Monty Python, American group that did radio theater. And had some best-selling albums, but it was a long time ago. 2 of those guys are still alive and kicking, performing. They're ancient. Whew. So,
yeah, used to listen to them in college. I think We're All Bozos on This Bus was our favorite then.
Boy, I ripped that album off big time. They were real friendly to us also. They kind of patted us on the back and said, "You guys carry the torch now." So I'm looking for somebody to carry the torch myself at this point.
And it's going to be hard,
Oh, there's a younger fellow who's probably going to be the next sacred scribe number 274. The first 272 didn't last very long. My stint has been a record.
Yeah.
But I haven't had to work for anybody else in 20 years at least. So that's okay.
Yeah, that doesn't suck.
Office in the home. I have to do all the dirty work though. When somebody orders something from us, I'm the one who puts the stamp on there and does the whole PayPal routine. My mail out area back there, somewhat hidden by a poster for this podcast.
Do you feel humor should be What do you think of humor? Should it be offensive? Should it make you think? Should it make you uncomfortable? I mean, I never
It
liked
should make you
anything unless.
laugh.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
That's it.
yeah.
It's got to be funny first. That's absolutely the number one thing. I think in the 90s, I started getting a little bit preachy, and I got over it. I got over myself.
What do you mean by preachy?
Well, getting a little bit too angry for real.
Mm.
And it was I was yelling about the conspiracy taking away your slack, but it was really that I didn't have slack. And so I was being a hypocrite, and I was begging for slack, and I finally got it. By repenting, quitting my job, and slacking off. That actually works. The worst thing that usually happens is you end up with a better job. And I quit being a business film editor in Dallas and became a full-time sacred scribe. We still didn't make any money though until my younger partner pointed out that if it was just me, one person could make a living on this, and he ended up quitting, and he had to because of a child custody case. You know, there was a case where the family had their kid taken away because the parents were in the Church of the SubGenius. This judge didn't get it. They didn't have a sense of humor. They got their kid back, but it was terrible. It was really a terrible thing to see happen. You know, that's probably the most serious problem that the church ever caused. It was their own fault. They posted pictures of themselves reenacting the Stations of the Cross at this nudist campground with this guy, my partner Jesus Bevilacqua. Really, I called him that because he looked like Jesus, the Caucasian, blonde, blue-eyed Jesus. He looked the part perfectly. I started calling him Jesus. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. I've got Jesus for the SubGenius business partner. But when he was filmed being beaten with dildos while mocking the Bible, that judge just he didn't like that. There was a goat mask involved, and the guy took that to mean it was satanic.
Of course.
I think there's 80 goats outside my house down the hill. So I hope they're not little devils.
No. We have a farm down here, a goat farm too, and we take our kids because they're a blast. God, goats are a blast.
They're not my goats; they're my brother's goats. Yeah, I didn't always live out in the country on this ranch. My parents both died, and this house was left vacant, and all the rest of my family already had been living here the whole time. And I'm basically a city kid. So I'm trying to learn Texan again. I was in Ohio for a long time. And on when you're on the radio, you hear yourself, you have to hear yourself talk, and you slowly get better at it. I hope.
Yeah, indeed. Awesome. Well, Vance, do you have a question or anything from the audience out there?
Well, there's plenty from the audience. We got a million questions from the audience.
Oh, good.
There was a super chat from Anon Omos, our friend.
Oh, right. You know, I have to admit I'm doing a bad job at tracking the questions because I'm interested in what you're saying, Stang. I can't rip myself away
thank you.
from it.
Yeah, thank you, Rebecca, for the super chat. Let me see if I can find it. There it is. Asterox Foundation and an almost 666 he's sent. Please ask the Reverend Ivan Stang about where I can get a nickel bag of Haverfropsilops. Also known as frop, yes.
Right. I can't sell you any. No, that's the Tibetan herb that a lot of people assume Bob is smoking frop for short, in his pipe, but I think he's really, it's from what we can tell, it's just this cheap pipe tobacco called Borkum Riff Cherry Blend or something.
Cherry blend.
But frop is a sacred herb it's not a drug, it's an herb. And you smoke it or drink it or pack it up your exit wound or make brownies out of it. But it's not common street drugs. It's very hard to find. It only grows on the graves of Tibetan lamas or the droppings of yetis, of Sasquatch. So it's like I said, it's, you got to find the Sasquatch droppings or the grave of a holy man, a Tibetan holy man, which is getting really tricky now. The Chinese are wrecking that whole situation. So,
thank you.
Good luck with the frop.
Yeah,
you only need to smoke it.
Thank you for that super chat. Sorry about that, Ivan. Go ahead.
Yeah, you only have to smoke it once, and you never come down. Look what happened to me.
Now, since all subgeniuses are descended from yetis, are subgenius droppings also a good source of frop, or is that?
No, well, you can tell by looking at most subgeniuses, they're pretty far from their original yeti ancestors.
Yeah.
That was the whole problem, interbreeding with humans. That's where subgeniuses came from. Basically, they're humans, mostly human with just a little yeti gene. Some of them are hairy enough that you can tell they're a little closer to the source.
A little more, yeah.
Yeah. I won't name any names though, or display anything.
Guilty as charged. I'm unfortunately very unblended here. I'm looking through the questions here.
I think Nate had a
Nate had 5 million
question.
Yeah, no, he had one Tool question too.
Oh,
you like the band Tool, Ivan?
I've been asked that a lot lately. I'm really not that familiar with them, but somebody told me that they referenced Bob in a song. I just heard that the other day.
Really? Wow.
I haven't heard the song. I'd probably like the band, but my hearing is terrible, and I don't have much time to listen to people who are already have record contracts. On my radio show, we pretty much only play, bands that aren't signed or very old music in the background, monster movie soundtracks and such.
Ooh, yeah.
Copyright,
Yeah, I understand. I think Nate did talk about. Are you familiar with the work of Grant Morrison and the Invisibles?
Oh yeah, a little bit. Somebody told me that he liked Bob.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I ever got his $35, but my younger friends have made sure that I knew about his stuff. Great stuff. Yeah, hard to keep up with. There's a lot of, there's really a lot of good stuff around. It's hard to keep up with.
Here's a question from a super chat. Is Bob single currently? Thank you, Post Bunny.
Well, it's kind of a moot point. Apparently he has a wife in every city or something, but he's always been married to Connie Dobbs. Connie is his main squeeze. She's probably the only one that can control him, but even she can't remove the pipe from his mouth. Nothing has ever been found that can remove that pipe. Some people think the pipe, it's not really Bob doing this. It's the pipe is a controlling entity using him as a host. It's like a parasite alien. So you never see him without the pipe, and he never has to light it. It's just always lit somehow.
Perpetual.
Yeah, it's really weird. We have a new book of shorts, novella about Bob that just came out this year called The Agent and Mr. Dobbs. It's a little paperback, or it's a Kindle. You can find it on Amazon. And it is sick sick, but it's the best depiction of Bob I've ever read. I've written a couple of movie screenplays about Bob, but if somebody came to me and said, "I've got $1 billion, we're going to do a SubGenius movie," I'd hand them that book instead. It's I was too close to the material. This guy was channeling Bob when he wrote it. He's not normally a writer, and his texts were so full of mistakes. I mean, the editing of it, I would edit on paper with a red pencil, and those pages are pink from across the room. There were so many mistakes. The guy had written it in such a frenzy, but it's really, really funny. It is not for kids, though. Oh, yeah, somebody there. I've read part of The Agent and Mr. Dobbs on my show lately. Actually, we read pretty much the whole thing over a course of several shows.
Yeah, from Jonathan Barloghi, a good man and a past guest, a brilliant mind.
So he can't be a SubGenius then. Brilliant mind.
No,
we can fix that.
Yeah.
We have ways of fixing that. You know, they're traumatic and brutal, though. You know, head injuries, drug overdoses, that kind of thing. But intelligence can be cured, obviously. Look around. Anyway, we called it Church of the SubGenius, not Church of the Genius, for a reason. It's almost everybody with $35 could qualify. And the people who think they're geniuses are always such stuffed shirts.
Yeah.
You know, book smart. That's not the same. Book smart, but they can't change a tire or change a diaper. Phooey.
Totally absorbed by the con. Tools.
Bob, yeah, but Bob is not. It's not that Bob is smart or clever. It's that he's just lucky. He's the opposite of smart. He just lets things happen. He's basically kind of almost brainless, you might say, but he doesn't matter. He doesn't need to be. He said, "I'd rather be lucky than good any day." You know, does smart get you a date? Not usually.
Nope.
Just the other way around, it seems like. So another thing Bob said that does actually seem to work is act like a dumbass and they'll treat you as an equal. He actually used a stronger term than dumbass, but you know, kids might be listening.
Wow. Hey, somebody wanted to know if Bob in Twin Peaks, if he had a relationship to Jared.
Killer Bob.
He's Bob, eager for fun. He wears a grin. Everybody run. Somebody was on the set and asked David Lynch if this was any relation to Bob Dobbs' SubGenius. He said no. It's just Bob.
Okay.
So,
does David Lynch know anything about SubGeniuses?
No, I don't know. I know John Carpenter does. We have friends in common, and that kind of figures. You know, he's done some pretty funny stuff. And the late Jonathan Demme was a big fan. He was going to help David Byrne do that movie True Stories, and there was a scene in that was based on us. And originally we were going to. One of our guys was going to be the preacher, and I was going to do the video collage stuff. But when Hollywood money came, suddenly David Byrne wasn't calling the shots, and we didn't have a track record.
Right.
Actually, I do have a track record in film, but not Dallas doesn't count. It wasn't Hollywood. I actually did go to Hollywood to work on a Devo music video. We're friends with Devo, and which figures, you know. And I realized I was not cut out for the level of competition. I'm just too much of a slacker. Mark Mothersbaugh actually said to me, Stang, you'd never last in Hollywood. You're too nice. I thought, oh, no way. But once I got there and tried to work, I realized, yeah, God, he's right. My son ended up going to Hollywood and actually became a member of the Directors Guild.
Cool.
But he never did any big feature movies. He's done one low budget movie called Solver that's really good. But you know, it was an indie production. Not many people have ended up seeing it. It's a mystery. My son lives in Dallas now. His name is Zandy Smith with an X. If you need film work done anywhere, he really knows his stuff. Very, very good film guy. So I've plugged my son's business.
Where does the X fall in? Sandy Smith, but where does the X go?
Well, no, Zandy with an X.
Oh, Zandy.
Yeah, his real name is Alexander, but we started calling him Zandy, and he stuck with it. He kept it as his business name is XANDY. It's xsfilms.com. XS Zandy Smith. You know, my name wasn't always Stang, and it's not lots of times anymore.
I was almost tempted to ask you to channel Mr. St. Clair Smith.
Oh, Douglas St. Clair Smith?
Yeah, you could channel him.
He's the janitor. He's the mailroom boy. You know, he's the guy that cleans up around here. So.
What about Frank Zappa?
Facebook. Oh, Zappa.
You didn't send him a pamphlet, did you?
Yeah, I did. I did. But it was. I don't think he read it. That's the important thing.
So yeah.
Oh, actually, he must have, because he mentioned it in a sort of an autobiography book he did. I think it's called the Frank book. I've got a copy of it somewhere. And he basically said, he was talking about religion. He said, the religion I like, now I'm not a member, but there's a religion I really like called Church of the SubGenius in Dallas. And their prophet, Bob, he liked Bob because Bob was a smoker. And Zappa apparently was, you know, he was against drugs. Wouldn't let his band members smoke pot. If he caught him, he'd fire him or something. But yet he himself would drink beer and smoke cigarettes on stage. So
yeah, he was a control freak when it came to his music and his band.
Yeah, that's
notorious control freak.
All right. Well, that's sort of understandable considering what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
You know, he was the only one who knew what it was supposed to sound like, I guess.
Yeah. And he was a producer. He produced a lot of bands. He put out a lot of work. Yeah. So
yeah, well, we wouldn't know about Captain Beefheart if it wasn't for
and a whole bunch of others. Yeah.
Well, I mentioned Beefheart on one of these podcasts with some younger guys. They had never heard the name. They had to Google it right then and there. Same with Firesign Theater. They didn't understand the references to underground comics, which was another big influence. The first places we sent the pamphlet were the underground comic publishers. And then there were only three main ones: Last Gasp and Rip Off Press and Kitchen. And we, in every case, the boss went, why did the kooks send us this shit? And they threw it in the trash. And but in every case, the artists found it in the trash. Jay Kinney found it in the trash at Last Gasp, and Paul Mavrides found it at Rip Off Press. They were working together, doing comic books using clip art. So when they saw our use of clip art, they went, "Oh, they're our brothers." Well, the funny thing is, right about that time, early 80s, late 70s, that suddenly was a thing. We just started doing it because we couldn't afford real art. And Philo, my partner, had a giant book of Yellow Pages clip art, which that's where Bob's face came from. It was, now it's a trademark, but then it was free. And I forget where I was going. Oh, the underground comic books connection. Yeah,
Mhm.
Paul and Jay gave me the addresses of a lot of my underground comic book heroes, like Robert Williams and S. Clay Wilson and
Right.
Crumb and so forth. And some of them responded and were really helpful. Heavy Metal Magazine gave us a good review real early in our career. People Magazine did a glowing review of Book of the SubGenius in 1981 and used as an illustration a picture that the Secret Service had told me not to ever use again. It showed Bob and Elvis and JFK and Buddha shooting machine guns at a Hydra, like with many arms, and one of the arms, it's like conspiracy, fashion models, that kind of thing. And then one arm said Reagan or any president. And the Secret Service actually showed up at my house.
Get out of here.
No, they really did. This was in 1982, right after that book was first published. What got their attention was somebody at the LA airport had been running around with our publications going, "Have you heard the good news? Bob is, doing like a Hare Krishna thing, where he was just for fun." That's something I never had the nerve to do. I don't stand on car hoods and preach. I only do that if I'm being paid, sort of. I don't have to be paid much, but there has to be an audience that gives a hoot. I'm not going to force it on people, but others do. In fact, when we first started, Philo and I would put the pamphlets in bookstores secretly. We called it drop lifting.
Mhm.
And then the customers, it was just a cheap pamphlet, but customer would bring his purchases up to the clerk, and the clerk would go, "Well, where'd this come from?" So it's in the rack with those comic books and Bibles. What? That worked. That really worked. We got some of our most talented folks that way, because they just stumbled upon one of those pamphlets that we had illegally put into a bookstore without telling the bookstore owner. Later on, a couple of those bookstores ended up buying it, contacting us saying, "Hey, we're going to get more of those pamphlets." They're popular.
But what did the Secret Service ask you? Anything?
What's kind of revealing is they said, "Are you Douglas St. Clair?" They left it. They didn't even have my whole name. I could have said no, because they didn't even have my name right. But I let them. We lived in a little old house in Dallas, and once they walked in, they could tell there wasn't a guru surrounded by minions. There was kids and dogs and no minions whatsoever. And I kind of said, "Well, look, come on, you guys, would you take this serious? Well, you don't know who's out there. You should never print this again." They didn't tell me I couldn't. They just recommended it. And then People Magazine printed it. No, only maybe 30 or 40,000 people would have ever seen it, just if except the People Magazine, which, read by millions. So Devo got in trouble for using Barbie and Ken in a music video, which I animated, by the way. I was the animator of that Barbie Ken.
Oh, wow.
That's how and Mattel came after him and said, you can't show that. And they went, "Okay, we won't." They don't show them. MTV shows that stuff, not them. So they blew that one off.
What about Robot Chicken, though? Robot Chicken, they must have a warehouse full of Barbies and Kens.
I've never really watched that show, believe it or not.
Oh, you're kidding.
That's stop motion, right?
Yeah. You'd love it.
Yeah. I probably would. Oh, there's a million shows that you have to watch. You think how many times people tell you got to see this show.
You got to see this, yeah.
Yeah, and I managed to I was so busy with raising a family and holding down 2 jobs plus the cult through the 90s, I never saw a single X-Files. I never saw the X-Files. I never played video games. There's all kinds of stuff I never saw. I'm catching up now.
Wow. Well, it's on cable too. That's the Robot Chicken, I think, is pretty much only on cable. That's another
Yeah,
thing.
but you can see anything if you know
That's
where to poke around on the internet in Russia. You can. I mean, I've got friends. The minute a movie comes out, they can download it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
When that SubGenius documentary came out on Amazon, an hour later, Philo found it in bootleg news groups.
Oh yeah.
So there you
Not
go.
to mention the torrents, right? The bit torrents.
Yeah. I used to do that all the time, but I realized I was just getting to be a kleptomaniac. I've downloaded so many albums and things. I'll never have time to listen to them ever. And movies. I've got 1,000 movies I've never seen. So
the thrill of the hunt.
I quit doing that. I just go to Redbox now. When you live out in the country, that's the movie theater. The movie theater is a Coke machine outside the grocery store.
We still have a drive-through up here, about a few miles away. It's a blast.
A drive-in?
A drive-in, not a drive-through movie. Yeah, a drive-in. Yeah.
Yeah, there aren't many of those around. It seems like the COVID would have made that. Well, I think it did. I think some drive-ins did do a lot better.
Yeah, because
people quit going to theaters.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to leave your car.
Right. Well, everything's on TV now. I basically almost never leave. Yeah.
We finally got us plugged in. I think the conspiracy bought up all the drive-ins to make sure that we couldn't go to them anymore. That's what I think.
Too much making out going on.
Yeah.
Think how many kids were conceived at drive-ins.
Yep. There's the baby boom right in a nutshell, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, not mine. Didn't work for me. But
hey, what do you know about the Gnostics, if anything? Because this is a Gnostic radio show, and I've always told Miguel that the SubGenii and the Gnostics, the Church of the SubGenius and the Gnostics, there's a crossover there. A lot of common concepts.
Yeah. Oh, that was where I was starting to go when I was talking about the pagan festivals. That I got invited to speak at one of those. I thought they were setting me up. It's like, because I'd been making fun of them. I did a book called High Weirdness by Mail that specifically picked out different, all kinds of odd things and made really mean fun of Wiccans and stuff like that. What I learned was those people know how to throw a party, let me tell you. And I ended up in the end marrying one of the people that I met at the pagan festival, Princess Wee Ardo, queen of all the UFOs.
Yes.
And she was one of the directors of that festival, and that's how I got to know a whole lot of people like Robert Anton Wilson and Tim Leary. Tim Leary was he was a SubGenius fan. And he always bummed cigarettes from me. I used to smoke them, and he was trying to quit. Every time I saw him, which is 3 or 4 or 5 times open for him, and his kid was in the Devo video that I helped with, and he would always try to bum a cigarette from. He would always give him some, but. It's like I'm supposed to be trying to quit. Do you have any cigarettes?
No, they're the most annoying.
He was really funny. After he got over his space migration stuff, he kind of became a stand-up comic, and he was a very funny guy. I had to edit some of his lectures at the Starwood Festival. But the Gnostic thing, Philo and I talked about the connection to Gnosticism, and we worked with from a book called The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly
Natalie
P.
P.
Hall.
Hall.
I'm sure, figured you guys must know about that.
Oh yeah.
Every Mason has it. My dad was a hardcore Mason, and he has the giant fake gold covered version of it. And we went through that and kind of basically swiped all the best ideas from all these ancient dead religions or little known religions or philosophies and stuff. We actually were students of the occult, UFOs, all that kind of thing. At times I believed in things, but it not for real long, because I'd end up, meeting people who had talked about UFO encounters and stuff, and magic stuff, ESP experiences, Bigfoot, and all that. It's very interesting. But what I came away from it all feeling like there are a lot of really interesting people out there. And so I started brushing up on my science. I'm now a pretty hardcore junior scientist, but we really that Philip Dick's Valis and the other books related to that hit me like a ton of bricks. Yeah. I kind of, in fact, the part of our books called the Prescriptures were mostly put together by me when I was all fired up by the Valis idea.
Wow.
I later met people who were so into it that it really kind of became their religion. Jay Kinney of Gnostic magazine ended up being the executor of the exegesis, the long thing that Dick wrote, not for publication. It was about his mystical experiences. And so that's there's some serious crossover. That Jay Kinney was one of the first SubGeniuses, you might say, and he was like the guy in the Gnostic world there because of that magazine. So you never know.
Wow.
A lot of SubGeniuses would be horrified to know that I hang out with, quote, pagans, which they think, oh God, New Age crystal nuts. It's like, well, there's some of those, but most of them have a sense of humor, and they hire me to piss off the fundamentalist pagans. So, it's always been a lot of fun. God, it must really tick them off too, because I'm like one of the main speakers at that Starwood Festival. I always got the top slot for lecturing, and I'd open for people like Leary and Paul Krasner and all those ancient hipsters. We even had Big Brother and the Holding Company there one time with a Janis Joplin sound-alike who was really good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. People were coming up to her going, "You're channeling Janis, aren't you?" She's going, No, I just practice a lot. You're channeling. I could tell. No. I've gotten that too. The Invisible College is putting all those ideas in your head, Stang. Like, no, actually, me and Philo got real high and we came up with a bunch of crap to yell at teenagers on a CB radio. That's actually how it started. That's all in the movie. That's not secret anymore. But we've had to explain to people. No, actually, I'm pretty sure we weren't channeling anything but old Firesign Theater, Mad Magazine, and Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers. Not the TV show. Boy, they wrecked that. Wow. I don't know if you're ever familiar with the original comics, the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers. They were they were a lot of fun. They were around for a long time. My friend Paul Mavridis was the artist and writer on that for a long time with Gilbert Shelton. And they made a TV show of it on Hulu or one of those. Oh, man, boy, did they decimate it. They didn't involve the original artists or anything. They kind of tried to modernize it. And that's the nightmare of what what would happen to SubGenius if a pink boy got it, you know? So we've been very, very careful about maintaining the trademarks and stuff like that. But who knows? There may be a SubGenius 2.0 popping up. Bob,
Yeah, I was wondering what
or
was
an
next.
AI Bob. There's people working on an AI Bob, because why not?
Ah.
You know, and it might be smarter than the real Bob.
I was going to say, you know, it would have to be lucky. They'd have to automate luck somehow. How could they do that?
Well, there was a, well, I guess it's still there, or just a chat room, old style chat room that had been around since the 90s. And the guy that ran that had a bot on there that it was years old, and it had been listening to, or, you know, copying SubGenius conversations and slogans for so long that you'd think it was a real person at first. You know, everybody's talking kind of absurd to begin with. There's a lot of absurd statements, and the bot just fit in perfectly. It would chatter on about Bob and aliens and stuff like that. And you'd think it was one of us.
Is that still around, or is it?
I'm not
somewhere on the
sure, to
internet?
tell the truth. There's a link to it on subgenius.com, so I hope it's still there.
I'll have to check that out.
My website, the only thing that changes on it anymore is the weekly show. I put a new link to the weekly show, and that's about, it's an archive, really, and it's huge. It's thousands and thousands of wonderful pieces of art that people did back in the days of Usenet, before Facebook, or really even much of the World Wide Web. We used to meet on those old, back when only nerds knew what the internet was. You know, it was really great. It was so great. God, it was great. Everybody was funny, and nobody was mad, and it wasn't all disinformation. I swear, I think the internet backfired horribly. It didn't make people. I mean, I love the fact that I can just look up any information or repair information, all kinds of stuff. But at the same time, it's spreading stupidity. There's some line like a lie can go around the world while the truth is still tying its shoes in the morning.
Yeah.
I forget who said that, but yeah, and that the internet has just made that, in the last few years, that's become really clear.
Yeah.
You know, it shows you what you want to see, and you believe what you need to believe. And some people need to believe ugly, ugly things, and they find lots of other people who agree with them. So it must be true. And that's pretty disturbing. There's a lot of stuff going on that I honestly hoped I'd die before I saw. And there's quite a few things yet to happen. But I really don't want to be around to hear about the last gorilla dying. You know what I mean? And I didn't really want to be around to see a month of 100-degree temperatures in June. What's July going to be like? What's August going to be like? It's over 100 degrees outside here in North Texas. And that's fine for July.
Yeah, I lived in Texas. That's not August, July. Yeah, you don't leave your house.
This doesn't happen in June, and it's freaking people out. And of course, there's not enough rain.
Yeah,
the junior scientist in me is terribly worried about the environment, and there's nothing I can do. There's nothing at all. I've been preaching about that since I was a kid, and what can you do? You know, you can't make people stop driving cars. I'm not going.
They're trying. They're trying.
Well,
look at the good news.
Lately, the gas is so expensive.
Look at the good news. At least the threat of nuclear war ended with the USSR. At least we're out of that one, right?
Yeah, that's what we thought for a
That's
while.
what we thought, and it's right back
Oh.
on the menu.
There was a point when I thought, gosh, racism doesn't seem like that big of a problem anymore. Then Obama was elected, and God, man, it came pouring out stuff I thought I wouldn't have to ever hear again. And it's been somewhat disappointing as a futurist, sort of. I made a movie when I was 18 called "Let's Visit the World of the Future." It's very Robert Crumb influenced and Firesign influenced. In fact, it has bozos. Bozos, they're mean bozos, they're evil bozos. They run the world. And it was an 18-year-old's really depressing view of where things were going. Good God, man. I'm beginning to feel like Mike Judge with Idiocracy. And mine was really extreme. But stuff I thought would always just be satire is now commonly accepted. And even the language has changed. There used to be really have to be careful about using 4-letter vulgarisms, and now they're in headlines, you know. And I just I'm starting to feel a little old. I decided to quit using cuss words and instead use only antique ones like "Great Scott," "Holy mackerel." What is the meaning of this? That
Sounds.
Dad gummit. Yeah, zounds. That's a good one. I haven't used that one. We'll write that down. Zounds.
Yeah.
Great Caesar's ghost.
Oh, Superman. Perry White.
Yeah.
But I think nothing has really changed. I mean, that much. I mean, we project our fear. I know I'm getting Jungian. We project our shadow, our fears, and we take it out on some minority, on the quote unquote other. Just
Right.
like religion takes it out on the pagan, and somebody takes it out on whatever ethnic minorities in their country, like make them the scapegoat, and that'll solve all our problems. You know, same old shit. And I'm sorry for the.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's the conspiracy, you know, the fear of anything new and different, basically. And we all have it to some extent, but some have it a lot worse than others, you know.
Yeah. They're afraid.
Yeah.
They're afraid of change.
Right. And then there's people making big money off of that fear. They're stoking fears that are groundless. And there's other things that you should be afraid of that they pretend aren't happening. So yeah, you're right. If you look at a 1920s newspaper, things haven't really changed that much. It'll be basically wars and rumors of wars and except for, wait a minute, what am I saying? Newspapers. When was the last time you got newsprint on your hand? Actually, my town has a little weekly newspaper, which I buy every week just to help keep them going. Although I think the government may subsidize that somehow, because they have to be able to print certain things in public that people can read, not that they do.
Yeah.
And all it is usually high school football news, you know, but it's a newspaper. If I want to know what the explosion I just heard was, I get on local Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's typing. Yeah. And in Texas, Christianity is not the number one religion. It's football. So people don't realize.
Well, the internet, you know, the network is, I think, one of the biggest things that's changed, and it's accelerated time. I think the faster the communication, the faster time goes. And so, like now, the time is speeding up.
Oh, so it's well, and I'm slowing down. So I'm 68, and everything's going too fast for me. So I kind of basically went, okay, I'm semi-retired. I know my limitations. You know, I actually probably spend half of today working on my health. Darn it. I have arthritis. I have to do these stretches. It's about the only way to deal with it. And, I watch,
but nothing.
I watch old monster movies that I've already seen before while I'm doing the exercises.
Like which
Through the
ones?
Frankenstein stretch, right?
Well, I've seen them so many times I don't have to be looking at them or
can
reading the
focus.
subtitles to know what's happening.
Right.
Yeah, bad monster movies was another thing that got
Yeah.
us
Oh,
inspired.
Plan 9 from outer
Yeah.
space.
You
But
know what
really, you know,
Godzilla's gonna do. So
right.
you know.
But the Church of the SubGenius in some ways is it was kind of like nerds are discriminated against. I hate to use that term, but let's face it. I mean, the first few years of SubGenius, it really was a sausage party with guys with glasses. That has changed a whole lot over the years. It's a really quite a little society now. A lot of people meet and get married. Some of them are even of opposite sexes. But we have, in some ways, it was like, well, sissies and nerds get discriminated against too. It wasn't funny if you came out and said that. It sounded pathetic. So it was like the conspiracy of the normals has been suppressing the mutants, misfits, and abnormals for untold ages. We don't even know for sure what planet this is. Or much less what year it is. You know, so we have to come up with X day excuses every year. Think about that. The Jehovah's Witnesses have only predicted the end of the world about 10 times. Now, we've had to come up with an excuse
every year.
25. Well, if you count the first two drills, 27 times. This will be the 25th X day. And I'm not going to be there this time.
You're going to miss the saucers?
Well, no, that's it doesn't matter where you are. The saucers will beam you up when it's 7 o'clock in your time zone. They line up over the planet and let it turn underneath them and just lift up everybody who's got a membership card. So you and me will suddenly disappear. Our clothes will be left behind. We may they say it might be painful and we may scream. Oh, and don't be indoors when it happens. You'll just you bang against the ceiling until it tears through. You know, so we always are outside under the sky at 7 o'clock, and there's this countdown, and everybody looks at me like, what's he going to say now? And of course, I never plan anything. I'm assuming that the saucers are going to lift us up each time, and so I just wing it. but this year we had a great venue in Florida. We used to do it at the pagan campgrounds in Ohio, but we found a place in Florida near Tampa that was just perfect. And last year was really fun, but she's moving her resort somewhere else, and we thought this year let's just put it in everybody else's hands. It's a do-it-yourself X day. And I only know of one organized party. I was going to do one here. This is a pretty big house, but we have a 93-year-old that we're taking care of, my mother-in-law, and I can't have parties right now. We have hospice nurses coming 3 times a day, and that wouldn't go well with the 20 or 30 subgeniuses getting drunk in the same place. So yes, a little different this year. We in 2020 there was no outdoor X day. It was all virtual. There was about 50 people were on this one Zoom chat. You couldn't understand a damn thing. There's always 10 of them talking at once. But it was really fun at 7 a.m. As you could see all these little squares, people all over the country and the world looking up. For some reason, they always look up. You know, these aren't saucers we're talking about. These are magical beings that really don't need bodies or physical spaceships. They can manifest anything at will. So
it can be plasma.
Yeah, be careful what you're hoping for on X Day. That's another trick. If all you can imagine is your dingy apartment, that's what you're going to get. You know, if you imagine some appendage on your body being really super big all of a sudden, be careful. You know, there's drawbacks to that. Some people get, you know, reduction surgery. So we'll see. We shall see.
Like
X Day is
virtual
getting
gin
close.
and
Are you ready? Are you ready? Do you have that SubGenius membership card in your pocket? Oddly enough, on the 1998 X Day, we arrived at the campground in a limousine we rented. We tried to do a helicopter. We wanted to land in a helicopter, my partner and our wives, and but it was too misty. We couldn't do it. So this limousine pulls up just before 7 o'clock, and I got out and got ready to do the whole spiel and everything. And I suddenly realized that I'd left my wallet with my minister's card in my other pants. And I actually panicked. I kind of went, wait a minute, what if? I mean, what if? And I ran to get my minister's card so that I wouldn't be left behind.
Oh, that would be ironic.
Oh yeah, just because I didn't have the stupid piece of paper in my pocket.
Or if you flashed your COVID vaccination card instead, what would they do then? You know,
Oh man,
Jehovah won.
Right, that would be so ironic and sad.
Yeah.
The hounds are summoning you. Mine's asleep, thank God.
Probably there's a nurse just drove up.
All right, well then we should probably just land this spaceship, and we really appreciate your time, Ivan. Anything you want to tell people to go to, website, book, anything else you want to shill?
SubGenius.com has everything, and it's actually pretty organized. Right at the top, it has events. In fact, I should if I can get a link, I may put that live X Day link on there this very day if I can find it. Anyway, there's we sell our books. They're signed by me if you buy them from us instead of Amazon or whatever. And the radio shows and all that stuff is, of course, that's all archived. And I think we hid the really naughty stuff. God, 1 year suddenly everybody's grandma was on the internet. All these women wrote to me and said, "Would you take down those topless pictures of me for next day?" My cousins are making fun of me. If you go back and look at the 1990s X Days and early 2000s, it's before camera phones, and lots of girls they'd take their shirts off. It was most people kept their clothes on, but we used to do nude baptisms in a pond or a pool, and a lot of people would strip down for that. Not me. I'd wear priestly robes or at least a t-shirt and drawers. But but yeah, you can see the naked pictures on if you go way back in time in our events section. The more recent stuff, just there's no privacy. You know, grandma's going to see your naughty pictures. So there, subgenius.com. Or Bob at Post Office Box 807, Glen Rose, Texas 76043. And that's all you need to know. Oh, but Bob is a trademark. If you get it tattooed on your forehead, I could legally make you cut it off, but we never do.
Yeah, you'll get to it. Well,
I've seen a lot of great Bob tattoos. There's one guy had a flaming Bob on his butt. It was really well done, living color. Another guy had a whole mural on his back, and he ended up hating the Church of the SubGenius. And he's 2 guys like that. They're stuck with it. They're stuck with my trademark on their back. Dumbass. I'm just so glad that when I was a kid, all you had to do to be cool was not get a haircut. It was that simple. And if you needed a job, get a haircut.
Yeah, that's it.
Looky there. I've had that. This has been going on since 1990.
Whoa.
So,
long hair.
Yeah, not so much up here. That's why I have the hat on with headphones.
Yeah.
I'm getting real thin up there. I'm not the kind that looks good bald. It just wouldn't work. I'm that's the wrong generation. I'm supposed to look like the old aging bass player for Quicksilver Messenger Service. And praise Bob.
Praise Bob.
Praise Bob.
Gurney Bob. Neander Bob. Do all kinds of things. He looks really strange on very big-breasted women. Pulls his head apart.
A Bob for all seasons.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
I love it.
That's been fun. Thank you guys for having me on.
Our pleasure.
It's been a blast.
I do one of these things about every month or so. I suspect word's getting around that Stang's getting on in years. His health is starting to fade, and better do it quick. It's true too.
It's more relevant than ever. We need we need to laugh more and see what a parody life is. If you take yourself too seriously, you will go truly mad.
What did Pogo say about that? Can't remember. Pogo had a lot to say about that.
So did Pink Floyd. I was listening to The Wall last night just decided I was going to listen to The Wall. But awesome. Well, we are at the end. Yeah, for those of you in the chat, thanks for the great questions. Vance apologize, and I apologize to you. We just can't get to all your questions. We had a lot of people. And again, I will put out the audio version probably tomorrow or Sunday on all the big podcast providers. So everybody will get a replay. There will be a replay here. And thanks for your support. Well, Vance, thanks for keeping us company. And
somebody on there was asking how to get in touch with me for podcasts. Again, it's subgenius.com. My email is stang@subgenius.com. And there's even a phone.
He's not lying. I know that.
The official and the phone number is the phone in my pocket, but not that I'll necessarily answer it. But you can leave a message. We get some crazies, some. Yeah. So everything is on subgenius.com. It really is. And there's other places where people meet up online. Dobbs.town is probably the best one. There's old ones on Google Groups and other things. And that's all listed on there. And like I say, too many Facebook pages.
Yeah.
We can't monitor totally. So.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for your time. It's been a blast. And we look forward to hopefully the next time we talk and hopefully meet or interact here and there. But Ivan, really appreciate everything, and this has been great. Thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you, guys. I'd love to get an audio copy of this somehow.
Sure, I'll tell you. I will send you a bona fide audio copy this weekend.
Great. Yeah, that'd be good. Way you'll save me time on my show.
You got some filler, a little bit of filler in there.
Sometimes I do that. I'll just use almost a whole somebody else's show. It's not like anybody's getting paid for that part of it, So anyway,
it's all good stuff.
It's fun.
All good stuff.
We get paid in fun and slack.
Slack. There you go.
That's pretty good.
It improved from the beginning of the show.
That sound is actually directly based on the Warner Brothers cartoons that show somebody would run off a cliff and then realize they were in midair, and there'd be this real fast, and then they'd fall. And what's that sound? And I heard the Fire Sign Theater do Nergy Clockwork Films presents, like a bad 16 millimeter projector.
Right.
And I thought, yeah, we can do that. Men of Earth, you must stop all atomic testing. Yeah.
And Tom Kenny probably ripped it off with SpongeBob, because I've seen him do it. That's exactly how he does SpongeBob.
I'll be damned.
Yeah, and actually, I saw Dobbs head in SpongeBob, one of the SpongeBob episodes.
Yeah, I've seen a clip of that. I saw a clip of that too. There was a whole bunch of Bobs. It was like a collage of Bobs. Something like Bob appeared on Ren and Stimpy too. You never saw his face, just his knees and his pipe. But he sure sounded just like Bob.
They're out there.
I tried to sell a script to Ren and Stimpy, but they wouldn't look at anything outside of their company. Because what if they decided to do that story kind of like that one? Then I'd sue them. So it's like, I can't even look. Won't even look at it. Billy West was trying to get Chris Falusi to look at a script that a friend of his, mine, and I wrote. They wouldn't look at it. Stimpy and the Elves. So anyway,
alrighty. Well, then, as I like to say to everybody, thanks for being here. Thanks for being yourself, your true self, here in the desert of the real. Thanks for being on Aeon Biden. Everybody, have a good weekend, and hello and goodbye as always.
Yes,
thank you.
Been delightful.